Q7227-1. Examples of classic behavioral traps that experienced pilots may fall into are to A. Promote situational awareness and then necessary changes in behavior. B. Complete a flight as planned, please passengers, meet schedules, and get the job done. C. Assume additional responsibilities and assert PIC authority. The correct answer is B. Meeting schedules. Pilots, particularly those who fly in commercial or scheduled operations, may face pressure to adhere to strict flight schedules. Meeting schedules is often associated with meeting passenger expectations, ensuring timely connections, and avoiding delays or disruptions. This pressure can lead to a mindset where pilots feel compelled to complete the flight as planned, even in the face of adverse weather conditions, fatigue, or other potential safety risks. Pleasing passengers. Pilots often have a strong desire to provide a positive experience for passengers. They want to ensure their comfort, convenience, and satisfaction during the flight. This desire to please passengers can sometimes overshadow safety considerations and lead to decisions that prioritize passenger preferences over safety precautions. Getting the job done. Pilots, especially those with a high level of experience and professionalism, may have a strong sense of responsibility to successfully complete each flight. This can manifest as a determination to overcome challenges and obstacles, and to push through even in the face of adverse conditions or personal limitations. While this determination is commendable, it can become a trap if it compromises safety in the pursuit of completing the flight at all costs. These behavioral traps can cloud pilots' judgment and lead to a mindset where they are more inclined to take risks or disregard warning signs. It is essential for experienced pilots to recognize these traps and prioritize safety over external pressures. This includes being willing to deviate from the planned schedule, making proactive decisions based on safety considerations, and effectively managing the expectations of passengers and stakeholders while ensuring the highest levels of flight safety. By understanding these behavioral traps and actively guarding against them, experienced pilots can maintain a safety-focused mindset, make informed decisions, and ensure the well-being of themselves, their passengers, and the overall aviation community. 7227-2. All experienced pilots have fallen prey to, or have been tempted by, one or more of these dangerous tendencies or behavior problems at some time in their career. Select the answer that best describes these tendencies. A. Deficiencies in instrument skills and no edge of aircraft systems or limitations. B. Peer pressure, loss of situational awareness, and operating with inadequate fuel reserves. C. Performance deficiencies due to stress from human factors such as fatigue, illness, or emotional problems. The correct answer is B. Experienced pilots may fall prey to or be tempted by dangerous tendencies or behavior problems at some point in their career. These tendencies include peer pressure, loss of situational awareness, and operating with inadequate fuel reserves. Peer pressure. Pilots, particularly in social or professional contexts, may face pressure from colleagues, superiors, or passengers to make decisions that prioritize external expectations over safety. Succumbing to peer pressure can lead to taking unnecessary risks or disregarding safety protocols. Loss of situational awareness. Situational awareness is critical for safe flying. Experienced pilots may become complacent, distracted, or overwhelmed, resulting in a loss of situational awareness. This can occur when pilots fail to monitor critical flight parameters, misinterpret information, or overlook important cues in the environment. A loss of situational awareness can lead to incorrect decision-making or inadequate responses to changing conditions. Operating with inadequate fuel reserves. Experienced pilots may be tempted to minimize fuel reserves to meet schedules or reduce refueling stops. However, operating with inadequate fuel reserves is a dangerous practice that can lead to fuel exhaustion or fuel-related emergencies. It is vital for pilots to adhere to proper fuel planning and ensure an adequate margin of safety. By recognizing these dangerous tendencies, experienced pilots can remain vigilant, prioritize safety over external pressures, and take proactive measures to mitigate risks. Continuous training, adherence to standard operating procedures, and maintaining a disciplined approach to decision-making are crucial to avoiding these dangerous behaviors and ensuring safe flight operations. 7227-3. In order to gain a realistic perspective on one's attitude toward flying, a pilot should A. Understand the need to complete the flight. B. Obtain both realistic and thorough flight instruction during training. C. Take a self-assessment hazardous attitude inventory test. The correct answer is C. Taking a self-assessment hazardous attitude inventory test. This test is designed to help pilots assess their own attitudes and tendencies that may pose risks to flight safety. It provides a structured approach for pilots to evaluate their attitudes and identify any hazardous or counterproductive behaviors that could compromise safety. By taking the test, pilots can gain insight into their own mindset and become aware of any areas that may require improvement or adjustment. Understanding the need to complete the flight. While completing a flight is an essential objective, this option does not specifically address gaining a realistic perspective on one's attitude toward flying. Understanding the importance of completing a flight is a general aspect of pilot training, but does not directly relate to self-assessment of attitudes. Obtaining both realistic and thorough flight instruction during training. While realistic and thorough flight instruction is crucial in developing a pilot's skills and knowledge, it does not specifically focus on gaining a realistic perspective on one's attitude. Flight instruction primarily aims to provide the necessary training, knowledge, and proficiency to operate an aircraft safely and effectively. In summary, to gain a realistic perspective on their attitude toward flying, pilots should take a self-assessment hazardous attitude inventory test. This self-assessment tool helps pilots evaluate their own attitudes, recognize any hazardous or counterproductive behaviors, and take appropriate steps to address them. By gaining insights into their attitudes, pilots can enhance their self-awareness and make conscious efforts to cultivate a safety-oriented mindset in their aviation practices. 7228-1. Name some hazardous attitudes that can affect your judgment during the aeronautical decision making (ADM) process. A. Impulsivity, anti-establishment, and re-evaluation. B. Anti-authority, impulsivity, and resignation. C. Peer pressure and stress levels. The correct answer is B. Some hazardous attitudes that can affect your judgment during the aeronautical decision making (ADM) process are anti-authority, impulsivity, and resignation. Anti-authority. This attitude involves a tendency to disregard rules, regulations, or instructions from authority figures. Pilots with an anti-authority attitude may have a rebellious mindset and believe that they can operate outside of established guidelines. This attitude can lead to non-compliance with safety procedures and a lack of respect for established protocols. Impulsivity. Impulsivity refers to the tendency to act without careful thought or consideration of the potential consequences. Pilots with an impulsive attitude may make hasty decisions without thoroughly evaluating the situation or weighing the risks involved. This attitude can lead to rushed or ill-informed decisions that compromise safety. Resignation. Resignation involves a passive acceptance of negative circumstances without taking proactive steps to address or improve the situation. Pilots with a resignation attitude may feel powerless or overwhelmed by challenging situations, leading to a lack of motivation to make the necessary decisions or take appropriate actions. This attitude can result in a failure to respond effectively to potential hazards or mitigate risks. By being aware of these hazardous attitudes, pilots can actively work to mitigate their influence and make informed decisions that prioritize flight safety. Recognizing these attitudes within oneself and actively addressing them through training, self-reflection, and a commitment to safety can help pilots maintain a positive and safety-oriented mindset during the ADM process. 7228-2. Hazardous attitudes which contribute to pilot judgment can be effectively counteracted by A. An appropriate antidote. B. Taking meaningful steps to be more assertive with attitudes. C. early of these hazardous attitudes? The correct answer is A. An appropriate antidote. Each hazardous attitude has a corresponding antidote that can help pilots counteract its negative effects on judgment. These antidotes are specific strategies or mindsets that pilots can adopt to mitigate the influence of hazardous attitudes. By recognizing and actively applying the appropriate antidote, pilots can overcome or minimize the impact of hazardous attitudes on their decision-making process. For example, hazardous attitudes such as anti-authority, impulsivity, invulnerability, macho, and resignation each have a specific antidote. Anti-authority. The antidote is to follow the rules and recognize the importance of adhering to established rules, regulations, and procedures. Impulsivity. The antidote is to think first and cultivate a habit of thinking through the situation and considering the potential consequences before making decisions or taking action. Invulnerability. The antidote is to recognize that it could happen to me and acknowledge that pilots are not immune to accidents or mistakes, necessitating appropriate precautions and preventive measures. Macho. The antidote is to understand that taking chances is foolish and recognize that unnecessary risk-taking has no place in aviation, prioritizing safety above all. Resignation. The antidote is to realize that I'm not helpless. I can make a difference and adopt a proactive mindset, taking responsibility for actions and decisions while understanding the ability to influence outcomes. By applying the appropriate antidotes to counteract hazardous attitudes, pilots can promote better judgment and decision-making during flight operations. Recognizing and addressing these attitudes early on is crucial to maintaining a safety-oriented mindset throughout the aeronautical decision-making process.